Hey. Hi, guys. Welcome back. All right, so let's get into this, shall we? We are going to take a look at a collective message. I feel like I want to start with an oracle card first. Let's see. We'll call out zodiacs as we get going when we see them, but right now it's just wide open. We have to be fair. So we have the kind of like Libra scales here. Somebody's got scales in either hand. And we have this seemingly like feminine in a very large party dress, very, elegantly dressed. And then there's a face right there in like the stomach region, like the gut instinct. So we could start out, just because we do see the Libra scales, we could maybe talk about Libra coming into the story right out of the gate. But let's see, what is this going to turn out to be? By the way, this is card 38. To be fair, somebody needs to be truthful, but the truth is kind, or it's intended to actually bring harmony. You notice that the Ace of Swords brings truth, clarity, cuts things out that don't need to be there. But then we have all of this lovely amethyst crystal. Somebody has a truth that they need to speak. And I believe speaking that truth, it'll address some kind of unwarranted stress. Now, we may have a divine feminine who's been caught in that spider web of stress. She wears like a locket. So funny. I was wearing one yesterday that I wish I could show, because it was a really cool one, and I don't think you could see it against the yellow top I was wearing, but it was really pretty. And it was like the biggest, funkiest. I found it like at a yard sale. But it was a really cool locket, and this reminds me of it. Is the crazy part. I don't know. It's not within reach, so sorry about that. But lockets are usually, keepsakes, mementos. You put somebody's photo in it. You put something in it that is special to you. A lock of a baby's hair from your firstborn child. Or whatever it might be that's important. But we have definitely memories. We have the need for truth, and we have a truth that would alleviate somebody's tremendous stress and set them free with this liberation card. This is actually the reconciliation card as well, because this is actually the judgment card in any other deck. I think somebody needs to tell this feminine a piece of information that will like lighten her emotional turmoil immediately. It'll be something that's like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, boy, that makes me feel so much better. This could be something that felt really unfair, but maybe she didn't know all the information behind the scenes. This could be some kind of, like really great messaging that will really lift up this feminine. We do have a Six of Cups in the reverse. First off, this says somebody did not return to an ex. There wasn't any like, I'm leaving to go get back with somebody else. Okay. There was no, I got called away because some other soulmate wanted me back. If anything, we have the Action of Swords here sideways. Let me put it this way, that the image in my head that I have right now is that a divine feminine possibly was under the impression that she either got jilted or somebody like withdrew from her to go back to an ex. They preferred somebody over her, something like that. That could be like hurtful, but in fact, that is not pain that she should be carrying. I mean, that should never be pain that somebody carries anyway, because here's the thing. It's never about you. If this is just my personal opinion, but if you're dating somebody and they decide to reconcile with their ex, that's because they have unhealed stuff. They have undone stuff. It has nothing to do with your amazingness, your attractiveness. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with their karmic cycle they haven't closed out. It shouldn't ever look at like, wow, here I am, the one that they are dumping to go back to somebody else. Probably we should look at it as, thank God I'm liberated from them, instead of being with somebody who clearly hasn't finished a storyline that they were still in. It's so much better. Look, I've been in that situation in my own life, where somebody literally, I was dating them. They decided they wanted to go back to an ex. Vaya con Dios, you got to go. I mean, I certainly don't want to only have, 2/3 of someone's attention while the other third of them is still thinking about an ex. So by all means, please go back and do what you need to do. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if they went back happily ever after. It was the end of the road for me. I wasn't interested at that point anyway, but I will just say, like, I wish them well, because I want you to go where you need to be. You may have, you're not going to cross that bridge with me again, but I certainly understand. And I hope that you follow your heart and go where you need to be. It's not about us. It's about what they need to do. And every person has to do what they need to do. And the more we can understand it has nothing to do with us. That's an SEP. That's somebody else's problem. I'm not in control of your heart. You are in control of your heart. You go where your heart needs to go. I release you. That kind of energy is I think she may have had this energy, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that it doesn't still sting or doesn't still hurt. You can let somebody go and it doesn't mean that it doesn't still sting. But you wouldn't hold on anyway. But it's still, we're humans. We have emotions. It can hurt, or it can be stressful, or it can be like, I don't know what the heck happened. Maybe she didn't get any kind of clarity here. Maybe she just knows somebody disappeared and she assumed that they went back to some ex. She assumed, sometimes we build the worst case scenario in our minds. Maybe she assumed somebody isn't around me, doesn't want to talk to me anymore because they went back to an ex. And this says actually no. In this storyline for this fictional character, that's not what happened. What did perhaps happen is they were absolutely not ready. Not ready, and something else, either their unpreparedness for, like maybe to meet a great person. They were not in a place where they were, healed enough, whole enough, ready to jump into a romance with her, even if they had wanted to. I use the analogy of, if somebody has a broken leg and they're laying there in the hospital bed, but they want to go and jog and run with you. They want to train for a marathon with you. And they might even say like, oh my gosh, we're going to do this. I can't wait to do this marathon with you. And all of that desire could be true. But the reality of it is, you cannot say you're going to be able to do that when you still have a broken leg. That broken leg has to heal. And then after it heals, who knows, how easy that healing process will be. I just feel like this is somebody who wanted to move forward, but was unable to as swiftly as what they would have wanted to. Now, conversely, it could have also been something else showed up in their life, seemingly suddenly out of the blue. 10 of Wands. This could have been a family related issue. We keep looking like we have this story of a feminine who was maybe left in confusion and some hurt in regards to not getting the truth. And finally, it's about time that somebody is fair and gives the truth. This is all centered around the truth with that Ace of Swords. Finally, somebody's willing to give the truth. I didn't go back to an ex that, oh no, that wasn't what that was about. It was about some other element of my life that slowed me down, bogged me down. It was a huge, this can be a karmic cycle that needs to end, but like with a family member, this can be, some trigger that resurfaces that somebody did not expect to have to endure or deal with. This could have been huge drama that comes up unexpectedly. We got that 3 of Cups in the reverse. I'm wondering if this was a combination of someone who felt very burdened by family related things, but also felt quite devastated by, like maybe even not feeling very supported by the people around them. We have the Mastery of Wands upright. That Mastery of Wands, this is somebody who has a lot of love in their heart, but whatever bogged them down, whatever made it so that they could not move forward all of a sudden, it was not from lack of wanting to move forward. I do think this person may have felt like maybe they were suddenly burdened with feeling ostracized from family, or they suddenly, like the concept of loving and being loved hit them really hard. Maybe they were still, dealing with, sometimes it takes until we're quite mature adults before we're able to shed some old wounds all the way back from childhood. And that's kind of what this is speaking of. Somebody who felt like unaccepted by their own family, and they had to make peace with that before they could feel whole enough to be aware that they could be loved, to then be able to be in a very happily ever after with someone else. Now, I'm assuming that this is all about a relationship that stalled out, because in this case, a King of Wands, we can call him now, like suddenly got unexpectedly hit by, we'll say, old wounds that he had to sift through. Now, I don't know, why would you not have told her, I'm not withdrawing from you because I don't want to talk to you. I'm just withdrawing because, okay, so he's saying it wasn't withdrawing, it was not moving forward. Semantics, maybe. I didn't withdraw, I didn't move forward. But you also didn't tell her the situation from what we can see. Maybe it's that I couldn't join her to move forward, though. Maybe that's the better way to look at this. I couldn't join her. Who is she to you? Who is she to you? Sacred masculine, the emperor. Okay, so it doesn't matter. I never care about genders, but the way this King of Wands views, we saw a feminine at the beginning, so that's why I've been saying her, but he views her as like, she doesn't have any worries about her worth. She is somebody who has mastered her life. She is an emperor energy. She takes charge. She moves forward. She makes plans for her life. She's an action taker. She's in her divine masculine energy as an emperor. And all that means is she's in the energy of the sun. She has clarity of what her vision is. She knows confidently what she believes in. She believes she's valuable. She runs her empire. She reaches out to the things she wants. She pursues her hopes, her wishes, her dreams. She has a level of confidence in who she is, and she kind of takes a big old bite out of life. And he's saying, I could not have joined her in that energy because I realized, it could have been that he was deeply triggered by that, by seeing her, somebody who's just like, maybe she doesn't have anybody to help her out either, but she's unafraid of just going it alone. She's tried and tested herself in her own like confidence levels, her competencies. She just feels like, at least from his perspective, it's like she could literally do anything and she'll just go at it and be unafraid of, failure or success. And then she always ends up with success. I don't know how she just does that. I couldn't join her in that mindset. I'm thinking, seeing her and seeing that level of like casual confidence, seemingly casual confidence, could have been what really triggered him. So now it's not that it's like, oh, that was mean. How come you triggered me? I shouldn't have been triggered by your confidence. No. I'm saying triggered like almost in a good way, because it made him say, why don't I feel that way about myself? And then that kind of compelled him to do some deep soul search. And it could have taken him all the way back to, maybe I have an old pattern. Maybe I never really felt accepted. Maybe I always had to grapple with, being loved, being accepted by my own family. That's a huge thing for somebody to like trace back. How come, excuse me, how come I don't feel the same way? How come I don't feel like the emperor that I see her looking like? I can't join her in that kind of strength until I figure out why don't I actually feel that way about myself. So he didn't want to move forward in a relationship when he's like, I don't have that comfort zone, that belief in my abilities, that, like lust for life and just doing the things that you want to do. I need to address this in myself. So he really admires her. I don't think that he didn't say that to her like to be mean. I think if anything, how would you explain all that? Come on, I'm struggling with explaining the words, And when somebody gets triggered, sometimes they just withdraw without knowing why. We have a 10 of Swords. He might have also decided, I shouldn't be with somebody as strong as her because I'm not that person. And he may have felt the sting of that. Actually, I think he withdrew and he felt sad inside. He felt the sting of, I can't keep up with her. I can't go where she goes emotionally or, just taking that, that movement forward in life. So he withdrew from her, not because there was somebody else he wanted more, and not even because he was intimidated by her. It was because he looked at somebody, had a lot of really like admirable thoughts about her, and then said, it hurts so bad that I can't possibly keep up with her. Essentially this is like, I'm not good enough. And it stings so bad, but we may as well just end things because I don't have that level of confidence. So honestly, it was way worse for him. Now, of course, it would have been better if he had been able to vocalize any of this, but that's a tall order to ask anybody to be able to, experience a trigger, understand where it's coming from, identify it, sift through it, get it all figured out, verbalize it, simultaneously work on whatever that old patterning was as to be broken while maintaining a relationship, while expressing everything. I mean, come on, who's good at that? Not a person on earth could we expect that of, especially when there's, layers of hurt to all this. So I have to say, we don't have anybody that was trying to be mean to her. We don't have him trying to cause her grief. We don't have him disrespecting her. We don't have any of that story. The reality is very, very different than what she assumed it was. I think he went back to an ex, and that had always maybe preyed upon her mind. Like, so somebody just lied to me. Why couldn't he just tell me, I want to go back to an ex? And I think whether she wanted to or not, that was still something that was, it was a sore spot. It was a stressful spot no matter what. She's about to get the truth. How's that truth going to feel? Because we can see the truth is going to be really like it lifts a lot of stressful energy, and it brings so much peace. This is like something she had not considered. And we have the Hermit. It's a truth that could make her all of a sudden go like, oh my God, this is wholly different than what I thought. The Hermit makes us go into philosopher mode. We step back and we kind of absorb, and we let ourselves ponder it and maybe put ourselves in someone else's shoes. And, when you're faced with information you hadn't considered before, and then you have to kind of digest it a little bit. I feel like this is going to hit like a ton of bricks, but a good ton of bricks, but it's going to make her start thinking about things. She may not respond or reply immediately. Whether this is a face-to-face conversation or whether this is, via, electronic message, she's got to sit with this for a while before responding. I mean, she may have to sit with it for 9 hours, 9 days, whatever. But then it looks like there's kind of a joyful response. There is some kind of, once you absorb information that is a shock, I think that she realizes, okay, how do I feel about this? Honestly, I feel like there's something I'd like to say in return, and it's beautiful. Honestly, my heart is so much lighter. Honestly, maybe I can wrap my head around what they were explaining to me. She's got flowers in one hand. She's got a coin in the other. She's dancing in front of the sun. 7 of Wands. I think whatever she responds with will not be like, yay, let's get back together then. I think she's still going to be guarded, but open about like, this sheds a lot of light on things. Honestly, it's really great to hear this conversation. Thank you. It actually lifted a lot of hurt off of my shoulders. 6 of Swords. I feel a lot better reading this. King of Wands, what is it that you're trying to get out of this? Nurturer of Coins. This is him. We've seen great cards for him at the energy that he's in now. It's actually the Queen of Pentacles. This is him saying, okay, this is amazing. She accepted not even an apology, but the full explanation. And I can tell she genuinely, it's like completely dusted off that old hurt and pain. It's like we just wiped the slate clean. I'm picturing, somebody with one of those Etch-a-Sketches and, wiping it clean. It's gone. Wiping off a blackboard. It's gone. No more of that hurt. No more of that pain. No more of that trouble. Now, could I nurture this connection again? Could we start to talk again? May I offer you, some kind of stability on my end now? What are you hoping to get with her, from her? This is the Empress. I really feel like this could be a terrific power couple. Meeting one another has actually helped, yes, to go do that dark night of the soul, but then to come back a better version of oneself. And maybe the best love stories always help us to evolve into better people. But what they're hoping for is an Emperor-Empress connection. Pretty beautiful, actually. A tough road, but well worth it to see how much better maybe both characters feel right now. So I wish them luck. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up. Bye.